So welcome back to the show. I'm here with Gert Franz from Rasia, and he did a lot of work on Raylo and Lucee, the CFML open source engine. And he's talking at the Into the Box conference. What's your topic, Gert?
I don't even know how I named it, but it's actually about performance tuning step by step. So showing in iterations how to get from a very high, I'm not saying the numbers now, from a very high number of seconds to a very low number of seconds with different iterations where you avoid certain things in your programming and then you just use common techniques, and I'll explain the details why things are good and why you shouldn't use things, certain things.
That is great.
Yeah.
So you're going to help people speed up their code and learn some things to avoid and things to do better.
Well, hopefully. You know, everyone has their tricks and tips and how they are improving the performance of their code. But this came out of an assignment from a client. And while I was doing the iterations, I always had to prove that I did something. So I told him, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create iterations of the code. And I'm explaining each of those. And he said, oh, that's fantastic. Why don't you give a talk about this? And I said, oh, well, that was my idea in the first place. So I was asking him for permission to do this. And that was the reason why the talk came alive. And I gave a version of the talk at CF Camp last year. And it is really an everlasting topic because, you know, you can never have enough or performance or and you can never have the best performance at all, because, you know, everyone at a certain point in time when his business gets better or he has tons of more users, gets into the issue of having that performance in their applications. And that's why knowing basic things about, or very general things about the application or the CFML engine per se is very important, so that you know that you're not using certain things excessively, because otherwise it's no wonder that your code only responds in 2 or 3 seconds, right?
Right, and that, you know, that's important, because if pages load slower than a second or two, users can leave sites or...
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and it also, I think, can cause, you know, lead to errors, you know, with users double clicking or...
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's generally not a good thing.
And especially, you know, the basic response time that you have, say it is, let's say 1.5 seconds, you cannot get around this with scaling horizontally. You need to scale vertically to improve that number. And vertically sometimes is very expensive, right? And horizontally, if you're scaling horizontally, your average basic execution time will not improve, right? It will always be that 1.5 seconds.
Just for anyone who doesn't know those terms, scaling vertically, scaling horizontally, what do those mean?
Scaling horizontally means you're just having more servers taking care of the same amount of requests. Say you have 100 requests per second, and now you're adding 10 servers, and these 10 servers, now each one is executing 10 requests per second. And if you're scaling vertically, you're actually adding more RAM, better CPU, and better disks, and what have you. That is, of course, something to get the execution time of your basic execution time down. But in the end, that is not the solution, right? I mean, if your code sucks, sorry for the word, if the code sucks, you should, first of all, see that you have the best possible code in terms of performance. If you, of course, have performance as an issue. If you're just having a simple website, then obviously it doesn't really matter. But mostly people have high transaction websites, and you just need to have a very good performance, because that, I mean, Google spoiled us, didn't they? When they started in, when was it, in 97 or 96, and you just really got a result in 250 milliseconds, and everyone went, wow. And that is exactly what I expect as well. Everything under over a second is bad code, in my opinion. But sometimes there, of course, are exceptions. If you're doing a search on flights or whatever, that, of course, is they have to query lots of web services and everything. That is understandable why it takes that long. There are still some ways around that, but and that's why I'm always hunting for the best possible performance the baseline, right? So that the baseline is below half a second or so if you're executing something.
So in your talk, are you just talking about ColdFusion code tweaks, or are you looking at the database or other things?
No, this is just purely CFML. It is purely CFML, nothing else, because there are tons of other experts that are doing database tuning tips and tricks and whatever. I mean, just forgetting to add an index to the database, obviously, that is a very basic thing that you should know. But I mean, if I would give that talk at a CFML conference, okay, it's a box conference, people would just say, okay, well, I can read that up online. But most of these tips and tricks, many people don't know. And since I'm a very lazy blogger, I'm not blogging about these things. Of course, I know I should do those things, and I'm publishing my talks so people could blog from there. But in my opinion, that's the day tool they're using. And if they're using that tool every day, why not give them the best possible solutions for standard issues with performance, right? There are, even with simple things like structs and arrays, there are ways how to get those things faster if you're looking at specific things. And I'm addressing many of those things. Right.
So I know you do a lot of work on the Lucee CFML engine, and for people who don't know what that is, what is Lucee?
Lucee, that's the name of a girl, right? No, Lucee is the open source alternative to Adobe ColdFusion. And it is now, if we take into consideration the history of Rilo, it's about 12, 13 years old. And we're kind of going step by step with Adobe ColdFusion. So I would say in some areas, ColdFusion is the better engine, and in other areas, Lucee is the better engine, especially in terms of performance. And I mean, if we are talking about performance every time, I think Lucee is way ahead in terms of performance, which I particularly like. And of course, in terms of price, right?
What is the price, just for people who didn't quite understand what open source CFML means?
Zero. So we offer a full refund if you're unhappy. Right? So it is open source and free. And, I have to admit as well, in the past 12 years, lots of people were expecting the same things from the open source engine that the closed source engine had. So you're used to pay a certain amount of couple of thousands of dollars for an engine. Obviously, you expect certain things to be in there. But if you're having an open source tool, which is kind of the open source alternative to the closed source tool, they still expect those things because they come from maybe that side. And that was sometimes really a struggle. We have invested lots and lots of time and money into Rilo and Lucee. And we're pretty happy with how it got adopted and how people are using it. Lots of large companies are using Lucee in the meantime. Lucee is very compatible with ColdFusion. I mean, it's always the fact, how do you explain compatibility? If you're asking whether we have CF SharePoint in Lucee, no, we don't, because in the last 12 years, 2 people have asked us for support for CF SharePoint. And so that is not what Lucee is supporting. We have extensions for CF Spreadsheet, for instance, or CF POI or other things. It supports almost everything that the closed source alternative is supporting, but at a different price, right? Go ahead.
Right. So for the average kind of app people have, can they just take their code and it will run straight away, or do they need to tweak it a bit, or is there some kind of... Do you have code, a compatibility tester you run that tells them what they need to change?
Yes. Normally, it should. I can give you that from an example that I had. In Munich, I had a conference, and before that conference, we had a training. And in that training, half a day of that training was to convert applications from ColdFusion to, back then it was Rilo. And people brought their applications, and the problem was that all of them just ran. And I had 4 hours to fill with that. And it was actually a complete failure, but complete success. So normally, I would say 99% of the cases, you don't have to do anything. There are, of course, certain things, because Lucee is way more restrict than ColdFusion is. So, for instance, ColdFusion allows you to do something like, I don't know, you're setting a variable which is in quote has a key called request.something. And then you're outputting request.something, which every normal person would think that there is a something variable in the request scope. But actually it is a variable called request.something in the variable scope. So ColdFusion kind of allows you to do sloppy coding there, or you can do something like CFZ A.B equals 5.
I'm sure none of the listeners do any sloppy ColdFusion coding.
Oh, no, obviously not. But Lucee is kind of the...
But maybe they inherited some legacy code that had some sloppy
be.
stuff.
Absolutely. You know? I mean, if we're talking about into the box, lots of people there are going there are very high-end programmers. So normally I would expect them not to have sloppy code. But still, Lucee is very more restrictive, and the architecture is a little different. So Lucee comes with an administrator for each of the websites, and not one for the complete server. There is one for the complete server, but that is kind of the one that is setting defaults and
so you have a
global data sources. Yes.
So you have a kind of sandbox effect for each
that is,
site.
That is automatically built in. So it is not something that we put on top of it. We're just making use of the Java web contexts that are coming with Java by default, and we're just applying our security model to that existing one. Right.
So how many years do we have to wait for the next release of Lucee to come out?
0.2.
It's a monthly release cycle, right?
Yes, well, 0.2 because 5.2 is coming out, I suppose in April. I'm not pretty sure. I'm not making the plans. Yeah. The plans are made by Patrick Quinn from WebApper. He's the guy who's in charge of the release planning. And so I'm just a member of the Lucee Association in the meantime. I mean, our company, Ragia, is doing lots of development work on Lucee. But what is happening, or what has happened in the past, is just since 1st of January, we're on a monthly release cycle. We are in our 3rd release this year. We had January, February, and now the March sprint is on the way. And Lucee 5.2 is supposed to be out at around Into the Box, which is mainly focusing on performance, right? So startup performance in particular.
Wait, what do you think you're going to get the startup time down to?
Well, I know that you're going to pin me to this once I'm saying the number. It's going to be, as let me put it in an Adobe way, significantly faster.
Oh, can I quote you on that?
Well, quote me on whatever you want. I mean, this is going to be public anyway. But, you know, for me, it is really very important to get the startup time of Lucee 5 faster than Lucee 4. So that is already a margin that we need to make, or not a margin, a barrier that we need to make.
But you're getting it down from maybe 8 or 10 seconds down to a few seconds without saying a particular
I would
number.
say, let's say 4 or 5 seconds. That is what Lucee 4 was. And if we get below that, that is perfect, especially since command box is heavily relying on the startup time of Lucee. It's now based on Lucee 4.5, and that's why it is running in 3-4 seconds. And that is exactly why we are working hard on getting that number way more down, so that Lucee can make its way into command box core, Lucee 5 in particular, because there's so many cool new features in Lucee 5 that command box cannot make use of at the moment.
So for folks who've not heard of command box or haven't used it, because this isn't a regular website that's always running, right?
Okay, command box is just Lucee on the command line. So you can do something like executing scripts on the fly, or you just start up a Lucee website, web server with a command. I guess it's just called box, and then box is just executing command box, and then you can just run on a certain port. You can just call your website, or you can do something like box. I'm making this up. I'm not that familiar with command box, but it could be box index CFM, and then it executes the index CFM, which is maybe packaging your CFM files and puts them via FTP to a server. So you could actually write CFML scripts to deploy your applications, if you like so, and that on the server level, right? Server-side scripting, that is.
Yeah, so it's a scripting solution that
Exactly.
lets you use ColdFusion as the scripting language and do cool things
Exactly.
with
Exactly.
that.
Exactly. And
You know,
that is really, it's really helpful a lot, because you can just start up, for instance, a content box or preside with a simple command script, a DOS command script or a shell script. And then within really just typing that, you already have everything running. So it's really cool.
And command box costs how much?
I think it's slightly more expensive than Lucee. I guess zero as well.
Another open source thing. So you could have both of those things for free and play with them, try them out.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Yeah, it is really amazing. Yeah.
It is. So great things on your talk and with the Lucee project. I've got some other questions here, more about ColdFusion, because, there's been a myth around for a long time that ColdFusion is dead. It seems to be pretty alive to me. Why are you proud to developing ColdFusion? You've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, well, to be honest, first time I saw ColdFusion in 1999, I thought, sorry, what a piece of crap is that? That was really me.
That's when it was DBML, man.
Yeah, sure, I know. But still, for me, it was untyped. It was slow. It was, back then, the code was slower than the database, right? That just changed later on. And I was coming from the Delphi and Java angle. And for me, everything was, when you had code introspection, you could just click on the function, and the function just opened, the declaration opened in the editor. So that was cool. But it started to grow on me a lot. And I'm using ColdFusion at work every day, and I really love it. And, just, you can quote me on this. I'm very proud, even I know it's a sin for you guys, that's important. I'm very proud of having something, achieved something with Misha and with Tanya and with all the other team members that we had over the last 12 years, to have an open source version of CFML out there, having lots and lots of people depending on this software. And that makes me proud. Well, we didn't make a killing. Of course, we always wanted, but I guess we just suck as businessmen. That's how it is. And but I'm still very proud, because we reached so many people. We were able to develop so many cool things, and we have helped keep the business alive and thriving even. And I guess lots of the bad mouthing of ColdFusion is just history-wise, I know that it is dwindling down. I know that, and I know that there are other cool things coming up. But it's just a tool that you have as other tools. Before, it was one of 5 tools. Now it's one of 200 tools, right? And obviously, that is a very normal way how it goes down. But it is mostly up to the community how the perception of ColdFusion or Lucee is going to be out there. It is not only because of Adobe or because of the Rilo or Lucee guys why it is not thriving. We don't have the marketing power that Adobe has to bring it in front and talk everywhere about it and invest tons of it. It's just, let me put it this way, it is the love of our life. It's our child, our baby that we're putting out there and try to keep it as healthy as possible. And it is mostly about the users and the community, how others see it, because if somebody says, oh, what are you using? ColdFusion, and you already duck, that is a problem. You should be proud in saying, yes, I'm using ColdFusion and I love it, because it has evolved. It learned from its mistakes when it was a child, and now it's an adult and it knows lots of new cool things, and we have lots of other languages we can learn from, and we have introduced other things that maybe made their way in other languages as well, right? So I wouldn't say that it is a very, very old-fashioned and dying language. It is a language amongst many, which it is maybe our task or our goal to improve and keep alive as good as possible, because many people are depending on it. And why should we give up on what we love, right?
Absolutely. I'd agree with all that. So what would it take to make ColdFusion even more alive this year?
Write a killer app. That's it. PHP is so famous because of Facebook, right? Ruby is so famous because of Twitter, right? So if we have an app that is, killing the whole market, then CFML will be the one that people are looking at, because, or the technology that people are looking at. It is mostly not the language is adopted because it's cool. It is mostly because somebody, some celebrity or some celebrity app or I don't know, website has been programmed using that, right? And it is just not the case nowadays that people that are writing cool apps are going, oh, I'm going to use Lucee because Lucee is the thing that is the thing that solves all my problems. It is, okay, what is cool? Okay, let's use that. So what we can do is we can encourage startups to use it, because out of startups, sometimes very great things are happening or brought to life. And if these startups are using Lucee more, then, and we can show them how easy it is to write all these things, and then, of course, there can be something that is going to happen and to bring Lucee or ColdFusion in general at a better perception and everything, right? Okay, well,
I think that's a great suggestion. You know, one of the things I've been talking with Brad Woods about is how can we get more students learning it? And with
curriculums, use curriculums, bring them into university. It's free, and I mean, Adobe ColdFusion does that. Adobe does that with ColdFusion. That is, I like it that the curriculum is free, and in my opinion, all the students should get free copies of ColdFusion if they don't use Lucee. I mean, Lucee is free, but that is what it is. Just like the Marlboro tax sticks, get them while they're young, right? And therefore, that would be a good solution, how to do that. Right?
I'd get them in high school even, you know.
Yeah,
I know,
exactly,
I learned to program when I was a teenager, so.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Me too. Yeah.
Well, great. And why are you excited about going to Into the Box in Austin, Texas, in Houston, Texas, not Austin?
Yeah. First of all, because I've never been to Texas before. So,
never been?
No. Oh yeah, no,
wow.
No, that's not true. I've been to Dallas at what was it? It was called Open CF Summit, I guess. Open CF Summit back then with Matt Woodward, and it's a couple of years back. I don't know, 2009 or so, 2009. But I just really saw the hotel, the airport, and whatever. And I'm only going to be there Friday because I have some engagements. And my talk is on Friday. And what I'm really looking forward to is see Lewis and the guys again, and Brad, and hopefully see new people. At CF Camp, that was really great. We had about 30% people that I've never seen before.
CF Camp's in Munich, right?
CF Camp's in Munich. It's going to be in Munich again this year in October. And I've seen people there already, 30% of the people I've never seen before. That was great, because always, you know, going to these ColdFusion conferences, it's always like, oh, hey, great to see you again. It's always the same, see the good old guys. And I hope that there are going to be lots of new faces that I've never seen before.
Yeah, and it's not just a box conference. There's a lot of ColdFusion topics there and best practices
and Preside is going to be there as well.
It's really
to see Alex and all the other guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's really expanded since last year. So a lot of interesting stuff. Well, great. Well, thanks for talking to us about your topic and what's new in Lucee and ColdFusion. So look forward to seeing you again, Gert.
Yeah, well, you're going to be there, so we're going to meet at Into the Box, and I'm looking forward to be there. I hope to make it to CF Objective as well this year. But anyway, thanks a lot for the opportunity to talk to you, and see you soon. Take care.